What is up, everyone? I am back here with the Female Bodybuilding Podcast, and I am so happy to have somebody that I look up to so much. Tammy. Hi, Tammy. How's it going?
Hi, Amanda. It's going really well. Thank you so much for having me on. I'm just honored to be on your podcast with all the wonderful women that you've been interviewing. I'm so enjoying your podcast.
Thank you. Yeah, no, I told myself I wanted to give something back to our category. I feel inspired seeing the guys talking to each other. Because Dom lives and breathes bodybuilding and wrestling. I mean, here's my house. Is one TV is wrestling, another TV is bodybuilding. And I've been watching this podcast and listening to, athletes' experiences and sometimes the gossips too, the good, the bad, and the ugly, right? And I'm thinking to myself, where can I go to find my category? I wanna see, I wanna hear the real experiences that these women have, just the same as I'm hearing from the guys. So that's when I had this aha moment. I said, I'm just gonna start doing it, and if it gets some views, great. If it doesn't, I know somebody will listen, feel inspired, learn, because that's what happened with when I started my YouTube. I was thinking to myself, yeah, I don't know if this is gonna. Do people really want to see this? But let me just start it and have fun with it. I'll have fun with it. It's not gonna make my whole training. I don't want to mess up my training because I think sometimes a lot of people get so consumed into trying to get the best shot that they forget why they're there in the gym to start with.
Right.
But I thought to myself, let me just have fun once in a while and film a few videos and throw it out there. And then it just got a very good. I just started getting some comments when I go to shows or when I go to the gym, or people learning, people are, sharing what they've been watching and learning from. So I felt very inspired. And that's why I invite you guys to do the same, to post, some of your trainings, because we can really move the direction of our category, because nobody's really doing it for us,
Right.
and they should. We should do it for ourselves, just like the guys do, right?
Right. Exactly. Exactly. And it finds an audience because there are people who, many, many, many women who want this, obviously. Right. And so I think we're all just very thankful that you did start this. And I think that it's very motivating and inspiring and informative. And you just have built a community and have continued, that conversation. Is really, really nice.
Thank you. But let me tell you something. Your arms look crazy right now.
Thank you.
You look amazing. You look
Thank you. Thank you. I just finished with Best Built Team, which I am just so, so thankful for the coaching that Adam has provided, Adam and Dom and you, and the team is just fabulous. But anyway, just finished an 8-week health phase after the competition, and now I'm going into a growth phase. And so it's a little bit of a mind shift, right?
oh
I
yeah.
think it's for me, it's a difficult phase to go through. I think for many, many women, being okay with allowing your body to grow. It's difficult, because I think a lot of us, for all of our lives, have been not only taught, but it's been reinforced that the smaller the better, right? And it's almost as if you disappear, then you're doing well, and we have to get over that mindset. But it is really, really deeply ingrained in many of us since childhood. So
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely. Tell me a little bit more how you started even in your fitness journey. I know you were a teacher, right? And you retired about 2 years ago.
Mhm, mhm. Well, yeah, I was a college professor for about 32 years at Riverside City College in Southern California. And
Amazing.
I just loved it. And I've been retired for about a year and a half. But I started weight training actually in high school. So we're talking about like in the late 70s. And of course, it was not something that girls did. But I found it was something I enjoyed and something I was good at. I was not athletic in terms of sports because I wasn't like really coordinated. But I did always like individual sports, biking and hiking and, and weightlifting. And I just really, I, I was drawn to it. And so I did that in later years in high school, like junior and senior year. And I had my children very young, so I didn't really pursue it when had very, very young children. Um, except just what I could do, with whatever was on TV, right? You could follow along, um, bodies, I don't know, Body for Life or something like a program like that was on. But anyway, um, and then, I started going to the gym probably again in the mid 80s and have been doing it ever since. And like I said, weight room was kind of off limits for girls, whatever. I always break rules. So I
That's
just
amazing.
enjoyed, working out with the guys.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's just it takes a very specific personality, right? To like kind of enter that man's world, for for lack of a better word, where you're coming in and there are hundreds of men in the weight room and you're kind of like the only person there, the female there, that is trying to navigate that energy. And so you feel a little uncomfortable, intimidated, but then all of a sudden, once you really conquer that and you feel confident, you can take that from there, from learning that, and take it in different aspects of your life. When you enter a room where is a work meeting, or where is, like any situation where you kind of learn how to navigate the energy, because we can't lie. I mean, we have to respect the feminine and masculine energy that we have in the world. So I think when it starts in a weight room, you can really take that in
Mhm.
different aspects of life, you know what I mean?
I agree. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think what you find is that some of the preconceptions you had about, the males in the weight room, which is that they don't want you there, is really not true even at that time. Every guy was more than willing to help me, or even would ask me for an assist. I just became part of the community. And I think that sometimes those fears we have of entering spaces that we think are not for us, it's really on us, and if we really do enter that space, we find that we're welcomed and we can learn a lot from the people there. So I just always really enjoyed it. And, for me, it was a really good outlet. Going to school, I would still train, and it relieves stress, and teaching,
Yeah.
get up at, 3:30 in the morning to get my training in before, I had to get the kids off to school and teach all day. So it was just part of my daily routine.
That's amazing. I look up to women who are able to do all of these things, at the same time, because we tend to think that it's always too much, right? Oh, I can't go to the gym. It's just how many hours of the day? I have my kids, I have work. But then you have women who do what you do, and then you're like, let me tell you, there is a way. If there is a will, there is a way.
That's true, and I think that making it a part of your day makes everything else more manageable because,
Yeah.
as I said, it is, as we all know, it's a stress reliever. It also makes you feel strong and confident, that you can accomplish things that you set out to accomplish beyond bodybuilding, right? The discipline that you learn through bodybuilding, I think, translates into all aspects of your life, and especially when you're like, you didn't think you could do it, and you did, right? You accomplished a lift you didn't think you could do. That translates into everything that you think that you can't do, and you just push yourself through it. I also think that the training, I'm so happy to see so many young women in the gym now. It's just become part of our culture, but training in your younger years is so important as you get into your older years, as I am now, because I think back, sometimes I'm in the gym and I think, okay, just pretend you're 30 again, and your body doesn't know how old you are. It's been doing this since you're 30. It just does. It just kicks in and does the same thing, so
Love
it's
that.
just, I think it's just really good to get that as just part of your physiology, part of your psychology. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And when did you start taking that to like a competition level?
That took a long, long time. So when I was younger, I always trained to the point where I thought, as long as people ask me if I compete, I'm fine, right? I don't really need to compete. Um, and that happened quite frequently. Of course, though, people
Oh, yeah.
don't really understand what a competition physique really looks like, right? But I actually waited until near the time I retired. So I've only been competing for 2 years, 2.5 years. And part of that is because it really does take a huge commitment in time,
Mhm.
um, and expense. I mean, honestly, when I was younger, people would ask me if I, was interested in competing, but I didn't really have the time as I was raising children. But also, it's financially, it's a huge investment, I think. For good coaching and for good supplements and for the diet itself. Um, for a gym membership, if some people can't even afford that part of it. So, I mean, I think everyone can train and you can train well, but in terms of competition, I think you have to be really ready for the investment of time, money, um, and just the discipline that it takes. Anyway, so it's only been 3 years, about
But
3 years.
that's amazing. You did so well. I think that a lot of people feel so inspired because you look very feminine, but you have these like presence, right? Where you look at you and you're like, oh my gosh, like you're breaking completely all the taboos we hear, right? Oh, as you get older or after you have kids or your energy goes down, you don't feel like going to the gym, you get, fatter. And it's not true because everything is in our hands, right? We have now, especially with technology and the way that it is, information in our fingertips, we find a lot of information on, okay, I'm not feeling too well. I don't have the energy when I wake up in the morning. I don't feel motivated. I have no sex drive. So let me look a little bit into this and see what I can do. And you already have, doctors who are revisiting the whole hormonal replacement therapy and saying, okay, so this is not what we thought it was because at the beginning it was women were concerned about breast cancer if they introduced certain hormones, or they were worried about becoming a little bit more masculine and having the
Mhm.
masculine traits, which I want to also remind people that if they do look at female bodybuilders and they see that and they don't want that, it's very hard to get there in the first place.
Exactly.
If you don't want it, like,
Exactly.
I promise you, because even if you do, it's still gonna take some time.
That's
So
that's very true. That's
yeah,
very true. Some people will comment on Instagram, and I'm sure you get this too. And you're very, very feminine as well. But I think most of us, anyone with muscles, are like, I wouldn't want to look like that. And Kevin always, my husband always says, "Oh, don't worry, you won't. Hard as you try, you won't."
not even if you try with that desire inside of your heart, no.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. It takes a lot of a lot of work, as we all.
Yeah, but I think, like we mentioned at the beginning, I think there are so many other things to learn as you're practicing, this and practicing bodybuilding because it takes a very strong mindset in terms of, you're keeping yourself, holding yourself accountable to do these things every single day and have the time to pack your meals, to go to the gym, and then to be around people who don't understand what you're doing and looking at you and calling you certain things and, the voice or the look in general, or you look much older than you actually are because muscles make you look like I've heard so many different things. And because I think at the beginning, I was looking at the cup half empty because I was just around people who were constantly saying those things. So I was always challenging myself, like, I want to do this, but should I do it? Because I don't have the support around. But
Right.
then when you shift and you look at like, okay, wait a minute, I'm a unicorn here. So this is kind of cool.
Right. Yeah.
And then shift that mindset and look at the cup half full instead of half empty. Everything changed. Then
Yes.
you're around people like you who are, cheering, we are cheering ourselves on. We have our partners, your husband, my husband, who are supportive, and everything just changes. And then you go like, yeah, those keyboard warriors, let them be.
Right. Exactly. That is so true. I think mindset is so much of it. And I think you do attract uh, the energy that you put out, right? And so, like you said, when you change your mindset into a more positive, frame of mind, you're going to attract people that have that same positivity and who are doing the same thing that you're doing and who enjoy it and admire it and appreciate it, right? So, and for the rest of them, they'll attract people that are like minded, right?
Exactly.
Whatever.
I mean, who else would wake up in the morning and the first thing that they do is start commenting on other people's Instagram on how they look? I'm like, I don't think you're having a very good life or fun life, my friend.
I know. I
I'm
know.
sorry.
Yes. Very sad.
But now tell me a little bit more. You started your competition journey, then you get into the different phases, right? The prep, the health phase, and then the off season. So going to prep, what was that experience for you? It was so it was just about 2 years ago, right? Because if you ask
Hmm.
me, I've been competing for I guess maybe 5 years straight with a
Hmm.
year off. Um, I kind of remember my first prep, but I don't think I had the information that you do now. Even though it was just 6 years ago, I remember my first coach, a very good guy, but I didn't get not even near the information I have now.
Hmm.
But tell me your experience on prep and then now on off season.
Yeah, yeah. So the first prep. So I had like you, I had a different coach when I first started competing, who I really respect and learned a lot from. But the prep was quite different in that my food was cut back quite substantially because I'm a heavy girl, and I had at that time probably 40 pounds I needed to lose at least, and so he did what he obviously it did work and he thought was best, cutting back food and building up cardio. And so I did a lot of that, and but my body hit a point where it was just not responding. And so even though I probably lost most of the weight, my lower body was still pretty soft, and what I learned later after after I changed coaches and Adam had Adam last year, I learned that it was inflammation and that I become inflamed very easily. And so my first prep was kind of, I think, typical for most people, it was hard. And I felt like I was always hungry and always tired and, always torn up. And, but when I shifted this last year and began working with your team and with Adam, it was the easiest prep. I mean, not that I've gone through all these preps, but it was such an easier prep. I never felt hungry. Cardio was sustainable. I think I never went beyond 45, maybe 50 minutes, 25 in the morning and 25 after, because that wasn't helpful. Right? What was helpful was fueling my body correctly,
Hmm.
doing enough cardio to really kind of keep things moving, and training still heavily and eating enough to train heavily. So I think that I was much, much less catabolic in this set in with Adam. And the results showed. I mean, my lower body has never been that lean as it was this last competition in my life. And so, and I'm full. I mean, I haven't lost a lot of muscles. It's just like you said, we have all of this science now to back, um, you know, what we're going to be doing in these various phases. And so I trust. I trust that's built completely. And Adam, I just feel honored, honestly, to be coached by such a brilliant man. So,
Yeah, definitely. I think it's a good message for people to understand because for example, if you are working with a demographic of lifestyle, which I have people who are, gosh, they act more like professional bodybuilders than just a person who goes to the gym for health. They're excellent in following instructions and listening and doing the things that they should be doing. But um, I think that you also have the demographic that really truly does because they're invested in a show. So bodybuilders in a sense, right? So you have this almost like this case study where you have people that experience different preps where they're hungry, they are doing overdoing. So the general idea of calorie in versus calorie out is what works, right? So
mhm.
you're exercising all the time, you're eating very little food, you're doing all the things, and nothing is really working. And then you have then a different demographic that, yeah, we're pushing. Don't get me wrong. There will be times that your food's not going to be as high, especially if you're
Mhm.
preparing off season and prep.
Right.
There will be times you might be pushing a little extra cardio, but maybe in a short period of time, just to kind of get things a little bit going. But then that's when we can really analyze based on these two groups that are very consistent that it's not all about calorie in versus calorie out like we hear all the time. Because if it was, then if there is one particular study that I remember, not study, but it was a gentleman who is a journalist, and but he wrote a book talking more about calorie in versus calorie out. And I remember there was one particular statement that he said that to me made so much sense. He said he was, studying some certain groups in places like South America or Africa. And he was studying a group of women who were overweight, and their kids, were mostly really poor nutrition. So they looked extremely thin because they were poor
Mhm.
nutrition. And but the interesting fact was that they were not overeating because they were really poor, and the mothers were not eating the food in the house, and leaving their kids to
Right.
die, you
Right.
know, and they were somewhat active because they had to walk miles to get water from the river to just
Mhm.
back to the village. So they were washing their clothes in the river.
Right.
They were constantly moving. So he said, okay, so you have people around the world who are essentially very active, and they're not eating a lot because they don't even have access to food, but they are dying of diabetes, and they're
Right.
they're overweight. So that doesn't make sense. So the more he studied them, the more he could see that these women, because they didn't have access to protein,
Mhm.
they were just eating very cheap, even though it was somewhat from natural sources.
Right.
They were living in small villages and farms. They were eating an excessive amount of carbohydrates
Mhm. Right.
and very little protein because the protein is more expensive. They didn't really have even conditions to take care of animals. And the kids were giving a lot of grains,
Mhm.
and a lot of and if they did have access to anything sweet, it was just very, very poor nutrition food.
Right.
But the calories were not extremely high.
Right.
So what's going on?
Right.
So then that's
Exactly.
when he gives you this whole, like, he invites you to really see these different cases in the world and realize that it's not just about calorie in versus calorie out. It has a lot to do with the quality of the food you're eating. That protein is really essential. That the type of movement that you do is not just about walking or moving. It has to do with the resistance too. You have to create some resistance in your body. And it's very important to even have fats, healthy fats, they are not they didn't have access to olive oil or
Right.
avocado or eating animal fat. I know it sounds crazy, but it's a little bit more premium stuff, right? I mean,
Mhm.
if you really get a good olive oil, it's expensive.
Yes.
You don't find avocado everywhere. It's a
Mhm.
seasonal, it's seasonal. I think it's classified as a fruit too, if I'm not mistaken.
Mhm.
Um, and protein, if you don't really have the resources to have animals in your farm, where are you gonna find protein?
Right.
So I think it was a time where I was studying a lot about nutrition that I had my aha moment. It was like, I don't think I'm doing things right here because all that I'm thinking is about calories, and I don't think
Right.
it's all about that.
Mhm.
And I'm so happy that you are a big example of that too, based on what you just said during your prep.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. And yeah, and I think the thing I was thinking is, you were talking about reading this article and doing the research, and I think, many of us do that, but taking it up one another notch and getting a coach, a good coach, an informed coach, a knowledgeable coach is so, so important, not only for competitors, but I think, my husband, Kevin, will tell people, young men especially that he talks to in the gym, if he could have changed one thing in his training all these years, it would have been to get a coach earlier on in his life. He was in the military, so he was very fit, always, training, running, I mean, very, very fit. But to be coached on nutrition, especially nutrition, I think, and then, of course, on training, it makes a world of difference. And so, again, we should do research and we must, I think, do research, but to have a coach to also guide us because we're not always our best coaches,
Yeah.
right? Is so essential. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's important to say that I think that is a level of commitment that you do when you are purchasing that service, right? So you are committed financially, and then all of a sudden you kind of have this aha moment where you're like, okay, so I'm investing this. I need to. I mean, I'm supposed to do it, right? Why am I just spending this money? So it shifts something in your mind where you go from, let me look it up online and get a diet on ChatGPT or look it up on YouTube, which is not customized to you. Even if you do the prompts there, you say, I am, I weight this, and this, and this, and that. ChatGPT doesn't know your heart condition, your lab work, doesn't know if you're pre-diabetic, if you are, if you respond well to fats or if you don't, if you respond
Mhm.
well to this or not, or so anyway, so it's like people need to realize that sometimes if for things to get done, you might have to kind of have some skin in the game. And if
Right.
that is to invest something, in coaching, so be it. Because then you're like, okay, let me get this done. For example, I was invited, and I still have to do it, and I'm going to. um, I was invited to participate in this every Monday, this class that teaches you how to invest in stocks. So Dom and I do our investments. We have a person that does that for us for many years because I was very lucky to have met him while I was working with Anderson Silva. And Anderson Silva, for being Anderson Silva, he always hang out around very interesting people. So I got to meet his wealth manager, and he talked me into investing some money with him. And I remember when I was making money from the camp, I would give it to him and be like, I pretend I don't have it. I don't want to
Mhm.
see it. I don't have it, and I'm not a big spender anyway, so I would give it to him, right? So um, fast forward, I'm like, I'm so glad I did, because at the time I didn't see it, but
Yeah.
now I'm like, I'm so glad I did. So with
Yes.
that said, the reason why I'm saying this now, I'm invited to do this class with this girl, and because I want to do it on myself, like I want to find out how to, like I just want to see what it is to kind of do day
Right.
trading or like do all these things. I've always been very interested in that. So I I'm going to invest the money to learn because I keep saying it has been, Tammy, it's 5 years that I've been saying this. I want to learn more about stocks. I just want to see how it's done. I want to invest in Bitcoin. I want to do this. I want to do that. I never get to do it. Now that she told me, she said, listen, I know you want to spend the money and allocate the money to investment, but you might have to invest first in learning how to invest.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, I get it. So it's the same concept we're saying here, right?
Right.
How many years we spend in our lives saying, I want to lose weight.
Mm-hmm.
I want to gain muscle. I want to go to the gym. This is the year. This is my new year resolution. And nothing gets done. So when you go and you say, I'm going to do it, I'm going to reach out to a person who does that on a daily basis, they
Right.
might have more insight on things that I do because I'm not really paying attention. I'm just living my life. I'm not really seeing what is the best supplement for this, the best. So I'm just going to go and research for the best person that fits my needs and even use that as my way to learn how to
Mm-hmm. Right.
instead of just following instructions, right? Some people
Exactly.
like that. Some people say like, tell me to jump and I'll be like, how high, how often, I'll do it.
Right.
Some people want to learn because they want to learn. And I'm sure you learned a lot of things and supplement and stuff that now you're able to even suggest to other people, to your own clients
Mm-hmm.
and to your family.
Right. Right. And I think that's the best coach. And that's what I really have found. Well, actually, I had that with my previous coach as well. But finding a coach who is knowledgeable and is inclined to share that knowledge, but also knows how, right? And can speak to you so that you understand it. Now, my husband is much more scientifically minded than I. He can have a conversation with Adam about all sorts of chemicals, stuff, and reactions, and all sorts of and get it. I'm not. Like I said, I taught English for so even though I'm a
Oh my gosh,
doctor,
he has a foreigner here speaking English with you. Don't judge me, Tammy.
so even though I have a PhD, I mean that kind of some of the science stuff just goes it's just beyond me. But Adam, you know, explains things in such a way that it's just easy to comprehend and understand. And that's important because like you said, it is important to be able to follow instructions if you have a coach. And as coaches, we know, or teachers, we know with, clients and students, they have to follow directions. But it's more important that the clients and students are learning, right? So that they can not only incorporate that in their own lives, but pass it on, right? So, yeah, I think you're right. It's very good to know what's happening
Yeah,
and what you're doing.
and I used to be a little bit upset with me that I wasn't paying much attention at the beginning because there were a lot of things going on in my life at the time when I started competing. I was working full time. I was finishing up school, and here I am trying to do bodybuilding, which alone, alone is a whole. It seems like a full time job, right?
Right.
But at the beginning, I felt, for lack of a better word, I almost felt like I was a little dumb around the people around me because I was like, "What do you mean I have to do this? What do you mean I have to eat that?" So I remember I used to go to a gym when I first came to America. It was called Bally Total Fitness.
Yeah. I went to Bally's. Right.
And and I had to sign up for a membership, and the membership contract was a 5-year contract. Like, gyms don't do that anymore. You know
Right.
what I mean? So, and when I went to get my membership, I couldn't because I didn't have a social security at the time because I was here on a F1 visa, on a student visa. So I had to convince the woman that I lived with as my host mother to go there and sign up for me. And she's like, 5 years, Amanda? I'm committed. Like 5 years? Hey, well, you can sign up 30 years. I just don't know if I want to stay here in this gym forever, but you can sign me up for 30 years.
Right.
But I remember when I was there was this personal trainer who told me that I should be eating protein, um, the basics, right? I should be eating protein for the amount of exercise I was doing if I really wanted to gain some muscle. So I went back home and I researched what is protein. It was like
Right.
8 years ago. What is protein? Where does it come from? Um, and I just felt like, gosh, I'm just not like I this is just really the basics, right? So what I'm trying to say is this, like we're not gonna know everything.
Right.
And at the time, I didn't have the time to really study nutrition because I was doing so many things.
Right.
The same with you, right? You're looking at the boys speaking all of these things and you're wondering like, why didn't I know that? Well, because you were doing a lot of things before that really got your attention, such as teaching class and learning all the things about English, which that alone is an expertise that the boys don't have, I'm sure. You can brag to them like, I probably know how to, write that better. I mean,
Right.
spell that better than you do. How about that?
Right, right, right.
But I think that we because we are in a sense perfectionist in life and we want to do things perfect. So sometimes we overthink and say like, oh, how come I didn't know that? Or how come I did something like so amateur doing my prep? I should have known better. Or I didn't pose the way that I usually pose with my posing coach on stage because I was nervous.
Mm.
And we just go into this like rabbit hole of just kind of criticizing ourselves. And then we kind of look from the outside and we're like, wait a minute. Like I am an expert in so many other different things.
Right.
There is always room to grow and learn, obviously, but I'm good in so many different things. And sometimes
Right.
it's hard to be good at everything. I mean, nobody is.
For sure. No one is. And I think I think we tend to be, I think bodybuilders in general, so male and female, tend to be hypercritical. Not only of our physiques, but I think of just pretty much everything.
Like,
Like you were saying, posing, right? Nutrition, right? I think we can be very, very hard on ourselves if we slip up just a little bit, and it probably doesn't matter in the long run, but we can be really hard on ourselves. It, the benefit of that, the positive part of that, is that it keeps us going. It keeps the fire under our butts. Right here, I am 65, and I'm still like, I gotta get better. I gotta
I
get
thought you
better.
were 55.
No, I'm 65.
You look amazing,
Oh,
Tammy.
thank
That's
you.
awesome. That's
But,
great.
but of course, the downside of that is that you're never good enough, right? And I think that we have to sort of flip that and like you said, see all of the things that we have done well, see all of the progress that we have made, rather than whatever, the little bit that whatever our little part, thing that we need to improve that never seems to improve, rather than focusing on that. So
Yeah, I think that it's a pretty dangerous mindset that we have sometimes, and I would say it's pretty often here in the country of in USA. A little bit more than in other countries that I've been, which is that you have to grind and you have to be the best and you have to win at all cost. And if you say that you're not feeling well, you're already losing. And I think
loser.
I know you're such a loser, right? I remember that in school here. I never yeah, because I came as an exchange student, so there were a lot of things that I had no idea what I wasn't in downtown. I was in LA, like from all places. So here I am in Brazil learning.
Right.
I'm learning, hi, how are you? I'm fine, thank you. How about you? I get to LA and people are like, what up? What's popping? What's cracking? I'm like, is this English?
How are you?
Yeah, how are you, my sir? And then there is so so I remember loser. I was like, what is that? So
Hmm.
it's dangerous a little bit, right? Because now we have, and I think we can see that with people being a little bit more open and saying things about their childhood and the traumas and how life was growing up. And I see a common denominator, right? It's a common denominator of this obsession with being perfect and not being vulnerable. It's something that shows weakness. And then the common denominator that I see is that all these people that overcame, I mean, most of them are, at least from the podcast I listen to, are excellent in whatever field they are. They're either I watch a lot Sean Ryan, and all the veterans, and I watch a lot of like just CEOs and how they became who they are, if they started from the ground up. And it's a common denominator that they say. They're like, I grew up in a place where I had to be, I had to win at all cost. And it worked in a lot of in good ways because look at where I am,
Right.
but it also made life very hard. And if I was to speak to myself as a young, self, I would say there are ways to go about it, and that could potentially lead me to be much better, not only financially and having all these amazing things and medals to say about the things that I've done in life, but potentially I would be better in my mind where I'm actually enjoying all these things. Because some of the people
Right.
who have amazing titles and amazing, financial freedom and wealth, I'm not saying all of them, but a lot of them don't seem happy sometimes because
Right.
there is never this achievement, this aha moment. They're like,
Yeah.
oh, I feel great. Because
Right.
it's like, you gotta do more. You gotta do more.
Exactly.
You gotta do more.
Right. Right. And so you can never be satisfied.
You
Right.
always get you have to, you even for like let's talk about our category. I've been talking so much about this because I think I want to present this differently, right? For for our category. So even Natalia right now, she wins the title again. She becomes
Mhm.
Miss Olympia again.
Mhm.
And this woman can have a moment to enjoy and being the ambassador of the category because she is just getting criticized left and right from everybody.
Right. Right.
A lot of people had her side, but a lot of people just even made I watched some of the podcasts and I'm just like, they're terrible.
I know. I know. I know. I know. I don't know why we can't celebrate other people's victories and be very gracious in losing if we happen not to win. I shouldn't say lose, but if you happen not to be the winner, why can't you just be gracious? It wasn't your day. It wasn't your time. It may have been in the past. It will probably be in the future. But we can be very, gracious and happy, truly happy for people who have accomplished what they set out to do. Why can't we just be happy for others? It doesn't always have to be about us. And I think you know, the poor loser is I mean, I think that speaks a lot for itself. That's just
Mhm.
my 2 cents. But I think, on the other hand, I think Natalia has really handled that very, very well.
Very well.
Yeah.
Very well. Especially because and I think the best thing that she did was that she stayed quiet.
Yes.
Instead of,
Yes.
right? Instead of, being emotional and being like that's something that I would do, I guess. I don't know. Like, but I'm glad that I have Dom that, like, pulls me back. He's like, "No, you're not gonna do that," because 'cause I'm like, "I'm
We
going."
come out fighting.
And she's Brazilian, huh? She should be spicy too, but she's doing really well. I'm so proud of her.
Yeah, but there can be strength in silence, and I think she modeled that, and, yeah, she's been very, um, very, very upright, and so I admire her.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, what are your plans? I know we had a very successful season last year.
Yeah. So I was trying for my pro card last year in the last competition, that I did at the Masters.
Mhm.
I did not win that pro card, but, as I was just saying, I have to celebrate the girl who did, my competitor. I felt very sort of honored to have lost to someone who was, in such fine shape, and she really did deserve to win. But that lit a fire under mine.
Oh yeah.
myself.
That's really what it means, right? So like you go and you say, um, great job, you won today. Today's your day. We'll celebrate because tomorrow is mine.
Right. And it also gave me sort of more time to work on those areas that I need to work on, and so I kind of, I'm happy that I didn't get the pro card because it would have taken to now compete as a pro. I think it would have taken a few years to really build the areas that I want to build, which are, my glutes and hamstrings, lats, those take some time. But anyway, so I'm working on those. I will be competing again in September at the North American Championships, Masters, um, and possibly, and so depending on how all of that goes, possibly again in November um, at the what was it called, Masters show that I competed at in Vegas last year. So
Oh, okay. Yeah. Oh, that's so awesome. I'm so
yeah,
excited. I'm so
yeah,
excited. I mean, honestly, this is so inspiring because you're doing so well when you're really becoming an ambassador now, for women's physique and showing women that it can be done. It doesn't matter if you started 10 years ago, it doesn't matter if you are a pro or not. I think that some people have. I remember hearing that and I was like, "Huh, that's kind of cocky to say this, but some people have the star, like they have this little star next to their like, head that is like shining and it's like this they have this energy in them that people gravitate towards and some people do, some people don't and that's okay. And I think no, I know so you do. You have
oh,
this,
thank you.
you have the star. And
Thank you.
and that helps a lot your journey because I think when people look at you, they feel inspired, and then when they hear you, they hear like a sweet yet an authority. It comes from the years of you being a professor too, which is an amazing combination for somebody who wants to be an ambassador, right? It's difficult for somebody who is not very talkative. It's difficult for a person who doesn't have a kind of a sense of authority when they speak with, certainty of what they're saying. And it's amazing because you do. So you using
Thank
that,
you.
you using that for to be an ambassador of the sport is much more powerful than somebody who has been competing for 10 years as a pro, but they never jump on a podcast or did a video to share their experiences because bodybuilding, it's a teamwork. You can't say that you build that physique alone when you step on stage. I mean, there were so many people behind you.
Yeah.
But it becomes a little bit selfish in the sense that, yeah, there are a lot of people around your life that might not be part of the team, like the team that is really going to battle with you, and they suffer a little bit because your choices is all primarily towards their goal, and then
Hmm.
they become a little bit secondary at the time. Um, but if you are just competing without somewhat becoming an ambassador of the sport too, or of a category, then it really becomes just about you. It's just it's just about you, right? Because you're stepping on stage, you're collecting your medal, you're off the stage, and then yeah, I mean, if you're not taking the time to speak to people in the gym and telling them, and giving your a little bit some advice if it's asked, or tips, or telling people, women, the importance of weightlifting and eating well,
Right.
then it's just about you, which is fine.
Right.
Some people can live a life like that, but I think you, as a professor too, and seeing your personality, you're much more than that.
Yeah. Well, thank you. As are you. No, but absolutely, I think you're right. I mean, the sport is not about collecting trophies, right? And the sport is really about, I think, educating. I mean, honestly, truly, that being on stage is just the completion of that journey for a moment. But really, it is day to day being at the gym and talking to people, and you know answering questions or seeking advice and building community. Absolutely, I think you're right.
Yeah. I'm so excited to see you compete. I'm so excited to see you transform your body during the off season. Embrace this time. I know sometimes we look in the mirror and we're like, "Mm." I told Dom, I said, I'm taking my check-in photos and I'm deleting from my phone. You look at them, you look, you compare them. I'm not going crazy in this rabbit hole of like, I don't think it's coming in. Um, and I know everybody says, but enjoy because when prep comes, then you might miss a little bit of the times that you can eat a little bit extra food.
That's true. You've got to enjoy every moment of every phase
Yeah.
and do your best at every point. Yes.
But I'm super excited to see your season. I hope that you post a lot of things to share your journey and inspire more women to get into the weight room. And if they feel like competing, great. If they don't, at least they know that they're doing something that will pay dividends for the rest of their lives.
Well, thank you. Thank you again, Amanda. I so appreciate you having me on your podcast and thank you for your podcast.
Absolutely. I'll talk to you soon and let me know. I know you're coming to Vegas, so I'm going to see you soon.
Yes, I will see you soon.
Yes. Alrighty then. Bye,
All right.
Tammy.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
How did that go, babe?